This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Welcome back to another edition of the TWSN Tailgate Show. As always, I am Matt Levine, joined by my co-host, Josh Northcutt. How you doing today, Josh?
Doing all right, man. The Reds came up big with a victory, so we're a half game out of the playoffs. Still hope alive. We just got to beat the Brewers 3 times.
Man, this is not a baseball show.
I have to talk about it a little bit, man. It's almost October.
It is almost. I will give you that. It is almost October, and you know, baseball playoffs are right around the corner. But we got some college football to talk about. I'll give you your 2-second Reds thing. That's fine. But we got some college football to talk about. We have a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
Coming up on the show, we're going to talk about takeaways. We're talking about our Heisman races so far. We got the CFP rankings from us so far. And then, of course, we got our pick 6 pick 'em that we do every single week here. But first here, Josh, we need to get into what happened last week just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I think this was the first week that I had a better record than you in the pick 'em.
No, it was a bad week. It was a really, really bad week. And I learned from it. I made the mistake, and I went with the mindset of thinking what I knew in the beginning of the year instead of what I've been seeing for the last 3 weeks. That's what happened with the Indiana game, and that's definitely what happened with the Texas Tech game when I talk about those two.
I mean, look, you're still beating me in the overall head-to-head, so I can't talk too much, but I'm creeping up. We still got a long way to go. I'm creeping up, and this is going to be the biggest choke job in the history of choke jobs since the Golden State Warriors lost to LeBron James in 2016. But anyways, we're a college football show, but I have to throw that in. So, but what were some takeaways last week, just that you noticed? It could be your biggest takeaway, your biggest performance that you saw, overreaction, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, I'm just going to run down the 6. Miami obviously beat Florida 26-7. What a defensive performance by Miami, limiting Florida to 141 yards. The Gators are in a bye week. I know you said they shouldn't fire them or Billy, but after that performance, I'm at least telling Billy Napier, you're no longer calling plays of an offense. You're handing the duties over to the offensive coordinator. You be the head coach. You be the motivator. Your play calling has stunk. This is a historically bad Florida Gators offense. Indiana 63-10. By the way, hey, Matt, let's do a favor here and not tell IU fans come at me. I may or may not have had multiple DMs and emails from Indiana fans. No exaggeration, no nothing. So
I mean, you kind of did. I don't condone anything. I hope everything's good. But you did this to yourself by saying that it wasn't an intimidating place to play. You disrespected Bloomington.
I did.
That's on you, buddy. I can't help you there.
I did. And with that being said, I do apologize to Indiana fans. They came out, and boy, oh boy, did the Hoosiers come out. Fernando Mendoza, 21-23, 267 yards, 5 touchdowns. They ran for 312 yards on the ground as a team. That is literally beating Illinois at doing what Illinois does. And do you know how many yards rushing Illinois had in that game?
Not many.
How many people we see on the screen?
2.
2 yards rushing by the Illinois Illini. Unbelievable. Texas Tech came back, scored 24 in the 4th to beat Utah 34-10. Could not believe that. Utah just an ultimate collapse, especially with Will Hammond coming in as the backup. What a performance. People are talking about it. Is there a QB controversy? I mean, you don't want to see a quarterback lose his job. Morton was performing great up till this game. Had a rough stretch. Some of it you got to wonder, was it the injury? Was it not? But Will Hammond, 13 of 16, 169, 2 touchdowns. And his ball placement was fantastic. Michigan, 30-27. The game was not that close at all. Michigan dominated that game from start to finish, running the rock, just like Michigan football does. They went out and they proved it to me. Guess what? I'm a believer again. I am absolutely on the train, and I'm going to fall for it in 2 weeks when they go to USC, and I say a freshman quarterback goes into the Coliseum and beats them.
As someone who's just one point out, as someone who's been to the Coliseum multiple times, it's not the most intimidating atmosphere.
I assumed as much. I mean, there's really nothing intimidating about LA. but that's
whoa. Okay. Well, okay. That's a different discussion.
See, now I'm in trouble again. See,
you're going to get LA people coming at you now. That is, you don't want, trust me, you don't want that.
ASU beat Baylor 27-24. Just a good back and forth game right there. Tough loss for the Baylor Bears, but their season's not over yet. I mean, they're going to need to win out. They're going to need some help in the Big 12.
No, you know how last week I reversed my Men in Black thing with Baylor? No, we're back. I'm done. Baylor is dead to me. Dave Aranda is dead to me. That whole program, dead to me. I can't with them. I can't. They're done. We're never talking about Baylor again.
We'll talk a little bit about ASU and their three-headed monster a little bit later on. And then obviously TCU won that rivalry matchup over SMU 35-24. Josh Hoover, have yourself a day. 5 touchdowns, 379 yards. And Eric McAllister, 8 catches, 254 yards, and 3 touchdowns. TCU has a 3-headed monster at wide receiver. And how smart right now does my take of them being the sleeping giant of the Big 12 look?
It might be the only smart thing you've said the entire season.
That's fair. That's honestly fair.
Honestly, it was an interesting week. And I do got to give your Michigan Wolverines credit because this is one of my takeaways. That rushing attack is insane. The way they just broke off big yards, big plays. It was just like anytime Nebraska even came close to doing anything, it was just like hit him with the long run, hit him with punch him in the mouth. And look, we have to give Dylan Raiola credit. He played pretty well, but he also needs to learn how to move in the pocket. And that was my opinion. It was just the downfall of Nebraska in that game. He got sacked. He couldn't move. He was just flat-footed the entire time. Anytime any pressure was coming to him, and the Cornhuskers just couldn't do it. But I'll say that Hail Mary at the end of the half was pretty fun. And not for you, but it was fun for everyone else.
It was not fun for me. All I was doing was knock it down. No, all right. Well, all right. Okay. Well, cool. But Bryce Underwood, when he runs, it doesn't look like he's running fast, but he is picking up 3-4 yards every stride. That dude's legs are just so long. He is a phenomenal player. And then one more thing I just had to point out is panic time in Clemson. Dabo hot seat.
That's your national championship pick, buddy.
I know it's clearly dead now. That's clearly dead now. I wonder if Dabo survives the year. I really do.
The way he's
what happened to Mike Gundy this week? Does Dabo survive the year?
I did not see Gundy getting fired mid-season. I thought they would let him ride it out and see what happens. That was surprising. I think at this point in this new era of college football, anything is up for grabs. We can't say nothing is going to happen. I know USC has started out hot, but if they, let's say, were to lose, Lincoln Riley might be gone. They would just lose out. We don't know. In this new era, there's everything. It's like the Wild West. Nothing's off limits at this point, in my opinion. So, yeah, I could definitely see Dabo getting fired. But we do want to talk about one thing that happened. I feel like it flew under the radar a little bit. And that's the SEC changing its annual opponents. You and I were talking about this offline. At first, when I saw this, I got a little heated because they were taking away LSU Alabama, at least I thought they were, and LSU Florida. They actually came out and put out like a schedule for the next, I think, 5-6 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And they do play them, right? But it's not an official every year type of game.
Okay.
Do you like what the SEC's done here? And do you think more conferences should do this? Or do you kind of like the structure of how it is right now?
From what I'm hearing, this is going to be the structure. This is basically an agreement by the Power 4 conferences to come together and just have the same mindset of we're going to have non-conference games. Maybe the annual rivalry thing isn't different, but you do need to protect some games. But when you told me that, LSU, Alabama wasn't going to happen every year, I stopped. I was like, no. I get it's not a rivalry. Like, there's no name to it. But over the last 10 years, that's been one of the
20 years.
Yeah, that's fair. So one of the most exciting games to watch every year when it comes to the SEC. You never know what's going to happen. You mentioned Tennessee, Georgia, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I get it. Georgia has owned them the last 8-9 years. But this year alone, it might be the game of the year, and you're telling me I might not get it next year? Not a fan of that. It would be interesting to see because I think the Big Ten kind of has something like that, but I don't think they've gone full-blown into the 3 games. I know our buddy Will Holland has gone out there and talked about this in his article. So if you want to hear more about it, feel free to check out his article on TWSN. But all in all, I just think it's the way of the future with the way of 18 teams. But they've got to do something because there's just too many teams not playing each other that it's a situation which, don't get me wrong, like it's kind of good if they're the top tier teams. Like if Texas Tech and TCU, they're not going to play each other till the Big 12 championship if they meet. So the first time that's fair, you got a decisive winner. It's not one of those, well, case in point, Ohio State and Michigan play that last game of the year. Michigan beats Ohio State, and then they turn around and have to play a week later. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no.
It's just kind of a concept they need to try to figure out maybe a little bit better. But it's just the way it is. We're going to have to adapt to it. And I'm sure 3-4 years down the line, we won't even think about it.
We probably won't. It was just a little surprising. And weirdly, I was more upset about the Florida LSU game more than the Alabama game. That rivalry just goes so far. And you have LSU fans barbecuing gator before the game. Like
Gator tail is delicious.
I was just really surprised that they didn't, some of the annual opponents that they put, it was a little weird, but we're gonna see where this all kind of goes. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna do something different. We don't typically talk about the Heisman here, but before we do that, I want to remind every person here to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are here every single Thursday. Check out TWSN.net. We got all of our articles coming out. I have an article coming out tomorrow I will be discussing in a minute. So make sure to check all that out. Thank you for your support. But we want to get right into this, Josh. We're a few weeks into the season now. We talked Heisman on our season opener show. Where are you going with this? Because there are so many different angles and ways you can go about this. I know a lot of people are talking about John Mateer, and he's looked really good, but now he's hurt.
Yeah, so Mateer was my Heisman when we all did our vote over with TWSN. We all kind of sat down, just shot a podium type thing, as you'll see pop up here in a little bit. But as for Dynasty Trading's room of Beck for Heisman, I don't see that anymore. His performance has been kind of lackluster the last week. He only threw for 160 yards and a touchdown versus Miami. His defense won him that game, and his rush won him that game. But if he's going to be a game manager, that's fine. He's not losing them games. And that's what I was more concerned about with Carson Beck at quarterback for Miami. But as for the nominees, in my mind, I had Mateer number one. I was a little bit biased after what I watched that man do to my Michigan defense. It was just one of those things that I had a very hard time arguing against him. Obviously, the injury changes a lot of things. I had the only vote for my second place. It was Marcel Reed. After what he did when he went into Notre Dame, it stuck with me. When you win that kind of game, I thought he had an opportunity to go out and make another Heisman-type performance this week when he goes against Auburn. I really thought he was making the steps. And my third guy was Dante Moore, arguably going to be the Heisman favorite if Oregon can pull the upset this week, or not the upset, pull out the win this weekend in Happy Valley. But with Mateer now out of it, I will say my fourth option, after I dug in a little bit deeper, even if his numbers were versus Indiana State, it's got to be Bill's boy and Fernando Mendoza. 40 of 43, 537 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown the last 2 weeks. What he's done the last 2 weeks, some quarterbacks haven't done all year. So, Bill, congratulations. I'm on the bandwagon when it comes to that. I think if for some reason A&M stumbles and Oregon stumbles, we're going to literally see an IU quarterback is the Heisman favorite come next week.
Not bad for a team that doesn't have an atmosphere, right? I honestly, I think that Oregon doesn't even have to win the game against Penn State for Dante Moore to be considered anything. He just has to ball out. And if the defense loses the game, that's on them. As I mentioned at the beginning of this show weeks ago, the last few Heisman winners has not been on a winning team or a team that's gone to the college football playoff. It's been happening. You do not have to make the playoff to win the Heisman. That is no longer the criteria here. I think Dante Moore is easily the clear favorite. I have an article coming out tomorrow on this, so please make sure to check that out. I was wrong about Dante Moore. I am sitting here telling everybody this. In the beginning of the season, I said I wasn't sure about him. I needed to see more from him. He looked, like I said, he looked timid while he was at UCLA. He didn't look very great, but he didn't have a lot of experience. Now under Dan Lanning, he has a confidence to him. When you watch him, he's zipping the ball. He looks great, and Oregon looks incredible. And you talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago. Oregon has that feeling that Ohio State, Michigan have had in the last few years of a team that's very good. No one's really talking about them as the title favorite here, but they could end up doing something. I think a lot of that is the success of Dante Moore.
Speaking of our buddy Bill, he mentions Mendoza, more touchdowns and incompletions. Matt Ryan 2.0. That's talking top 5 pick if we're getting that kind of level. I'd love to see where Bill's got him in his mock draft, which ironically enough, we are currently working on in TWSN as well. But we do probably need to have the conversation. Clemson, Texas, Penn State. Is it bad? I'm almost becoming a little bit more of a believer of Texas, and we can talk about that when we get to our playoffs. But I do think if Penn State loses this weekend, their playoff hopes are in trouble. It's a must-win for Penn State. Not for Oregon, but for Penn State.
We'll see. We'll talk. We'll talk about that. Can we get some love for my guy Sawyer Robertson? Like, can we get some love for him, please? Like, please, Josh, because you called him bland at the beginning of the season.
I did.
And this bland guy has been tearing up defenses. And look, I get it. Baylor is not good. I'm talking about Baylor right now just for the quarterback only. The rest of the team is dead to me. But Robertson is a stud, and honestly, he is crazy good. And I told you he was crazy good, and you didn't believe me. Does he get any consideration for the Heisman?
I don't think so, because even numbers-wise, and I'd have to look deeper, he might be the 3rd best quarterback right now.
1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Josh Hoover's up there pretty high. He's got 1,000 and I believe 10 touchdowns is what I've got written down. He's also in contention. He's got a chance Friday night to have that Heisman-like moment, go into Arizona State, beat Arizona State. Again, I mentioned he doesn't have to play Texas Tech. Just one of those things. I could see it, but I think Baylor would have to win out. I think the quarterback position might be a little bit different. And I know the history says with Lamar, like you mentioned, and other things, but the quarterback position, if you're in the college football playoff hunt, you're going to be looked at a little bit higher in consideration.
Fair
that's my only take.
Fair enough. Before we get into our next segment, is there any love for Thomas Castellanos? Any love for him? I don't see it because his stats his stats just aren't the greatest just yet. If Florida State continues and he balls out, maybe then I think
he's got the chance. Go beat that Miami defense that we just hyped up like crazy, who might be the best defense in college football. Buckeye fans, do not attack me. Sooner fans, do not attack me. I said maybe.
I think you're forgetting a team, but we'll talk.
I know who you're talking about. You're just biased, but
I think you're forgetting someone.
But that's my mindset is. I think he's got to go out and do it. He did do it versus an Alabama team, but then yet again, what if Georgia goes out and smacks Alabama in the mouth this weekend? Then we question how good Alabama's defense is. It looks like week 1 all over again. It takes a little bit off Thomas Castellanos' plate of performance. I'm going to need to see it versus Miami before I'm all in on putting him in my candidate.
I'm not there yet.
Top 5.
He has an opportunity, though, and I'm curious to see what he does with this. But we're going to move on here. We got our college football playoff bracket here. We essentially we all sent in our brackets what we thought how it should look, at least right now. And Josh was a trooper and condensed it all for everybody. And this is what it looks like with everybody's together. And Josh, I'm going to let you talk because you had this more looks like yours than mine in a way. I believe we had the same teams essentially, just in different orders.
Yeah, actually, it's not a lot like mine. I had Miami and Oklahoma at 1-2. I am very high on 2 teams that have now beaten 2 top 25 teams, and they're the only team in college football who can say it. I went from being out on Miami to being all in. I think they are the best team right now in college football. Oklahoma obviously takes a hit without Mantier. 3-4 weeks, including the Red River. That's a little bit worrisome. Ohio State is Ohio State. They were my 3. Georgia was my 4. The 2 I had up there that I'm a little surprised nobody had, and it might be just me with the mindset of I'm only going to put people in who are undefeated. I get it. You lose a game, specifically like Texas. Their one loss was to Ohio State. That's not a bad loss, but it's still a loss right now. And there's undefeated teams. If you're undefeated, no matter who you're playing, you're going to get in. For me, I had Georgia Tech and Iowa State in there at 10 and 11. I know that's not going to be very popular, but when I sit down and I look at it, there's not much difference in my mind than what LSU has done this year and what Georgia Tech has done this year.
Are you specifically talking about the Clemson wins?
Yes. And that's why LSU has dropped deep down my rankings because how bad the Clemson win looks now.
Okay, that is fair. And we just saw Syracuse go into Death Valley.
Very true. That's what I'm saying.
Death Valley. Yeah. Go into the fake Death Valley and win a game, right? But I do not believe that we can take away the fact that LSU still went in on the opening week of the season and took down one of the top teams in the country, at least at the time, because that is what they were at the time. They were being seen as a national championship.
They were my national championship. Thank you again for reminding
me. There we go. And look, I have my reservations about LSU, right? Like we'll talk about that later in this show, but I don't think you can say that just yet. Now, I do believe LSU should not. They might drop a little bit. I think I had them at number 3 in mine, but that's just because I believe that they are one of the best 4 teams in the country right now. Again, let me preface that right now. We will talk. We will see what happens this weekend. I believe that Indiana should not be as high as they are. They have that one win against Illinois. Look, cool. They need to prove it again. You can't have this. You can't just keep doing it. And yes, they crushed Illinois. I get it. It's about consistency for me. You need to be consistent all year. One big win doesn't mean anything to me.
Yep.
We got Bill saying that Iowa State is a fraud.
Yeah, I'm not going that far.
They've been the darlings of college football so far. Everyone loves them.
I love them. I absolutely love them. They were my pick to win the Big 12 in the beginning of the year. I still think they have a chance to do it. I love Matt Campbell. He is a fantastic coach. He has no business coaching at Iowa State. No offense to Iowa State, but that dude deserves one of the Big 2 Big 2 power jobs somewhere in specifically the Big 10. That's a Big 10 coach. That is what that man is. And him and Rocco could easily change a program next year if they go to a right one. He did get a payday at Iowa State. He may just be happy there, but he is an Ohio guy. And I was holding out hope he'd be a Bearcat one day, but I don't think that's going to happen. The one team I wanted to mention, though, when we looked up there, the G5 is wide open. We all talked about it after Boise State went down in the chat. It's anybody's game. Right now we have Memphis in there, but we also had South Florida mentioned. We had North Texas mentioned, and you can't sleep on UNLV quite yet. But when you look at Memphis, I just want to throw this out here. They get Navy at home. They get Tulane at home. They get South Florida at home. They're getting the tough teams in the AAC at home. Memphis has got a pretty good history. They're trying to build themselves a new stadium. They're pushing for the Big 12. They offered paid the Big 12 a crap ton of money, and for some reason the teams turned it down. I don't know enough about the Memphis team. I want to look a little bit deeper.
Last week was impressive. I mean, Arkansas let it go, but that was still impressive though. To come back and win against an SEC team that was impressive.
Yes, but I need to see it more. Like I need to see more. I need to dig deeper into who Memphis actually is. But I still think the sleeping giant in the G5 is going to be UNLV, because the only team that they're going to play the rest of the year really is Boise State. And I believe they get them at Boise State. And I think they also get them at UNLV. So if they run the table and everybody in the AAC beats up on each other, UNLV is going to be the one to get in. But my vote was for Memphis because they did. They beat an SEC team, a pretty darn good SEC team, I thought, in Arkansas and Trayvon Green.
Yeah, but before we move on, I just want to look at this. Thank you for the comment, Colton. We appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. But in college football, though, the one thing with that, college football, it is how you win. It's not, wins aren't just wins, exactly. Yes, you want to win. Don't get me wrong. Like, you want to win the game, right? The old famous saying, we play to win, you play to win the game. But wins are not just wins, it's how you win, especially with the committee. Maybe it's not as important as it was a couple of years ago when it was just the 4 teams in the playoff, but the committee looks at how you win these games, every single one of them. If you go on the road and you grind out a win against a bad team, they might hold that against you. If you go to home and you blow out a team, that might boost you up. Am I wrong for that, Josh, or do you?
No, I with the way voting and everything works, I 100% agree. How you win tends to matter. Bill also points out there that the linebacker Drew Watts is basically just wrecking havoc in their secondary and linebacking crew. Just a player to keep an eye on. I'm sure Bill's got an amazing comp for him because he's Mr. Comp Master. He's got like 400 comps. Don't know how the man does it. But I do want to give Colton actually a shout out. He's the guy who made our graphics for us this week when it came to the Heisman and
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I went to school with him and he helped us out with that.
I mean, look at this. This looks awesome. So thank you.
LSU, Indiana. What would you think about that one?
I think the Tigers could pull it out. It would be one of those games that would probably drive my blood pressure to the highest point it could possibly go. But I'm used to that at this point. So it's okay. It's okay. We're going to be okay. We'll be fine. But we want to get into these games because we have some big games to talk about this week. It's a loaded. Josh and I had like 3 different conversations about what games to knock out, to keep in, and then it was like, all right, no, we're going to switch. We're going to do these games. No, it was a wild few days of us trying to figure this out.
Tell you how loaded this slate is. We're not talking Washington, Ohio State. We're not talking Texas A&M, Auburn.
Nope.
It's just it's loaded because it's
Arkansas and Notre Dame. Like we're not doing that either.
It is a loaded slate of college football, and anyone who's got to go to a wedding Saturday, I'm sorry.
Yep. I mean, but yeah, let's get into this. We got TCU taking on Arizona State. Is Arizona State back, Josh, or are the Horned Frogs about to dominate this game?
I think this is going to be an old classic Friday night Big 12 shootout. I think maybe the first one, the 40, could win. Do I have it as that score? No, not quite. I think we'll get a defensive stand here or there by the teams, and I've got TCU squeaking out a victory 38-33. I just think the weapons are too much for that Arizona secondary. Bill pointed out last week, ASU's secondary is one of the worst in the Big 12, if not college football. But it should be noted, TCU's is worse right now in passing yards. They both just give up a ton of yards through the air. But I'm going to trust the better quarterback and the guy with more weapons, so give me TCU.
Yeah, I'm going to go with TCU as well. And the big thing I want to watch here is how Jordan Tyson performs. Because he has 47 targets on the year, which is 34 more than any other wide receiver on that team. They are so heavily reliant on him that, and look, he's incredible. So this isn't me saying that it's a bad thing to rely on him. But if he has an off game or if he gets shut down even a little bit, I'm very concerned about the Sun Devils. Their offense cannot keep up with TCU, in my opinion, unless he goes just off. And I don't see him going fully off. I agree it's going to be kind of a shootout. Give me TCU, and your sleeper pick stays alive for another week. And, this might be one of the few things I'm going to give you credit for on this show. You told me to look into TCU. I did, and they've been dominant.
Those weapons, man. There's just it is truly a 3-headed monster out there now that Eric McAllister has gone off, and we're still waiting for Manjack of Houston to have his big game. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes versus ASU.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun Friday Night Lights type of game, and I'm excited. But we're going to go USC and Illinois here. Your Illinois Fighting Illini. You were hyping them up for weeks. And what happened last week? They got obliterated.
Yeah.
Are you sticking with Illinois, or have you finally given up on them, at least for this week? And you go with the Trojans, who, I mean, is USC back? I just asked if Arizona State's back. Is USC back? I know Bill asked it last week, but is USC back here?
I'm going to hold out on USC being back until they play Michigan. It's bad that it might be my Michigan bias. I judged Oklahoma the same way. I'm going to judge USC the same way. Let's see what they do versus Michigan in 2 weeks at home. But as for this Illinois game, I don't know if you watched Illinois last week. Again,
I watched it.
About it. USC, I get it. Their quarterback, Jaden Mavia, is not he is not Fernando Mendoza, but he's still pretty darn good. USC's offense is phenomenal right now. It's clicking. It's putting up points left and right. And what's even scarier, though, is their defense. They're tied in the Big Ten for sacks, and they're second in interceptions. I get Illinois is at home. They need this win. But I'm here to tell you, USC beats Illinois. I am off. When I mentioned in the beginning that I would learn from what I've seen and what I believed, what I saw last week is Illinois' secondary is way too beat up.
Yep.
Still no Xavier Scott. They lost Matthew Bailey in the Indiana game. So you're down two dudes in the secondary. Altmaier is not as good as I expected. That O-line is definitely not as good as I expected.
I tried to tell you last week.
I know.
O-line is a problem.
I know. And I'm now a believer. So give me the Trojans 35-24. A little bit closer because it's in Illinois, but I still see USC winning.
I don't think Illinois is as bad as they looked last week because I think Indiana just came in. They just routed them, right? And probably hyped up from what you were saying about them. But I really do believe that USC is going to win the game. USC ranks third nationally in passer rating. I mean, and as you mentioned, Illinois' secondary is beat up like crazy. They lost. I think they were down like 6 DBs or something last week in the Indiana game. I don't see all of them returning for this game. And even if they do, they might be hobbled. And honestly, they just haven't looked that great. I think USC shuts the door on Illinois in this game. It's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Trojans with Lincoln Riley finally looking like a team that might be able to do something. Give me USC. I think I can't say fully that they're back, but they are very, very close. Very close to being fully back.
Will, one of our guys who writes also at TWSN, pointed out how you win is extremely valuable, and that's why I don't consider Penn State on the level of someone like Oregon. That's exactly why Oregon's been dropping, or Penn State has been dropping down my power rankings, and Oregon State has been moving up. It is how you win. Penn State is just we'll talk about that here in a minute.
We'll talk about Penn State. We're going to move on to this next game here. This is kind of an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Neither team is ranked. I was very high on Pittsburgh entering the year. I think you were a little higher on Louisville than I was.
Yes.
Where are you going with this game?
I'm sticking with Louisville. I think they're able to pull it out. I don't see what you saw in Pittsburgh still to this day. I am a little bit concerned. Louisville looks to be without Isaac Brown and Duke Watson, their number 1 and number 2 running back, which is absolutely huge. Pittsburgh's all-purpose running back, Desmond Reed, got hurt in the West Virginia game, has been practicing. Last I saw, he was undecided, but I'm assuming if you're practicing the week before, you'll most likely play in some form. But I'm going to trust Miller Moss. Me and Bill were super high on Miller Moss. I still think he's got Miller Moss reminds me of Andy Dalton. Now, that's probably a bad comp when I say that, but Andy Dalton in college football was good, if anybody remembers how that was. The man literally took TCU to the Rose Bowl and won. I see that kind of fire and the precision of Miller Moss when he throws the football. So I like Louisville to go into Pittsburgh and pick up a win and hopefully finally crack the top 25 because they are one of the top 25 teams in college football.
This will be the first time that we disagree on this show today. I am sticking with Pittsburgh very reluctantly. I think they are going to be pissed off at how that last game went 2 weeks ago.
That's loud.
It wasn't the greatest performance. Louisville has scored 28 points in all 3 games this year, 40 or more in 2 of them. But Pittsburgh has a really good offense too. And I think this is the week that Eli Holstein's going to show everybody why I was so high on this team. I think here's the thing. If he doesn't have a good game, right, things are going to get real ugly real quick with the Panthers. And I am very hopeful that they are not going to do that. I think being at home, Pittsburgh is going to rebound. I think they get back on track here. And I think they do beat what should be a top 25 team in Louisville. So I am going to reluctantly pick Pittsburgh to win this game. And I know it's going to bite me in the ass, but that's okay. Because if they win, let's go. Anytime I support anything from Pittsburgh, it's not great.
Yeah, after the last 3 days, I can't do it.
It's not great for me. But that was our first disagreement here, and this is going to help me slowly climb back up on the pick'em list.
We'll see.
Well, we're gonna go to a very, very interesting game here. LSU Ole Miss.
I'm gonna let you talk.
Now, if anybody hasn't seen this week, there was some off the field fun that came out. Lane Kiffin's daughter announced that she was dating the LSU star linebacker. And Lane Kiffin, as he always does, likes to go to social media and fuel the flames of everything to take the over. It's in Oxford, right? This isn't in Baton Rouge, right? Everything's telling me I should pick LSU. I think LSU's the better team. LSU's offense finally clicked last week a little bit. But I'm not picking LSU. I am taking the over. Give me the Rebels. I think this is one of the two games that LSU loses this year. But it's not going to be a bad loss. It's going to be one of those, because anytime Ole Miss and LSU play, it's a fun game. It's close. It's fun. The two teams just play each other really well. This is going to come down to, I think, the last possession or two, and I think Ole Miss is going to win 21-17. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the defenses are going to do something in this game. Where are you going? Are you with me? Or are you giving me some hope?
Is so far when we do this for our teams, where our teams are 2-1. I think that's what's happening. I think you just don't want to believe in your team.
Oh no, I actually marked this as an L. Like my preseason, I marked it as an L for us.
I'm impressed. What I think is going to happen is the defense we haven't talked about as being the best defense in college football in LSU, who very well maybe is going to welcome Trinidad Chambliss into the SEC and show him what real SEC defenses look like. And I think LSU is going to have a field day versus Ole Miss offense. And I see LSU winning 30-20, but it's like a late touchdown irrelevant done by Ole Miss. I think LSU controls this game and just beats them down.
I mean, from your mouth to the field, that's what I'm hoping for. I have to. This is it for me. Yes, they beat Clemson, but as you discussed, it's not looking like the greatest win. This is the game that if they win, I will fully believe in this team.
That's fair.
On the road, I know it's not like playing in Tuscaloosa, but Oxford's still a really cool environment. It's a very intimidating environment. And I need to see them win a game like this. And if they can win this game, I feel like they can go almost anywhere and win. So this is the game, but I'm not sold just yet on this game. I think everything's pointing to Ole Miss, in my opinion.
I know it was versus nobody. What was it? Southeast Louisiana. But did it give you a little hope, though, to see the offense finally click and Garrett Nussmeier look like Garrett Nussmeier?
It definitely did. And I think they can take some of this into this game and going forward. Nussmeier looked a little healthier than he had, and there weren't as many drops as Bill kind of talked about last week. I'm hopeful, but I'm nervous at the same time. Just any Brian Kelly led team. You ask any fan that's ever been a fan of Brian Kelly and his teams throughout the year, there's ups and downs where you're just like, I don't know what's going to happen here. This is one of those games. My gut is telling me Ole Miss. I got to roll with that. I hope I'm wrong, but I got to roll with it.
Fair.
We're going to hit these last two games, and these two are man, these are some of the more important games of the year, possibly. We got the Oregon Ducks taking on the Penn State Nittany Lions. I picked Penn State to win the championship this year at the beginning of the season. I remain very high on Penn State, despite people like you Bill, others attacking the poor Penn State team. They become victims at this point. They're still really, really good.
Are they?
Yes, they are. And they're going to show it this weekend. They're going to beat the Ducks in front of their fans. And they're going to remind everybody why they were one of the title favorites entering the season. Penn State takes this game. Let's go.
All right. Well, let me bring it back down to reality here. So I was a believer in Penn State. I wrote literally Ohio State got named national championship. The next day I had an article out calling Penn State the next national champion. I was all aboard that train. I thought getting Aller back, getting the running backs back, they would hit the portal a little bit better and get some better weapons. I'm very concerned about their wide receiver weapons. I'll be the first to admit that, especially compared to Oregon's Moore, the true freshman who's set the world on fire right now. But Drew Aller is a concern to me. Could they be playing it safe this year? Could they have just not been wanting to show Oregon anything? Get through these preseason games is what a lot of people have been calling it. Just working some kinks out and saving some plays for this Oregon game. Because Penn State has a 2-game season this year. It's this one, and it's at Ohio State. You got to win one of them. You lose both, you're out of the playoffs. You haven't beat anybody. They're not going to reward you. I think this is literally they need to beat Oregon or they have to go into Ohio State. This is a whiteout. History says whiteout. If you're not Ohio State and then you're not Michigan, you don't go in there and win. Just the way it is. Fans are going to be electric. It's prime time Big Ten football the way it is supposed to be. Stop robbing these Big Ten schools. Yes, Ohio State, I'm sticking up for you there too. That being said, what is James Franklin's record versus top 10 teams?
It's not very good, but he's been better of late.
He's just so
4-14, something like that.
I had it at 4-20.
It was. I know he had 4 wins. I knew that.
Yeah, it either.
But he's been better of late. He has been better of late.
But I'm to the point where if Penn State wins, good. Congratulations. I may make Penn State the number 1 team in the country if they pull this off, because then they'll finally have shown
when they pull this off.
If they pull this off.
When.
But I am personally a believer in the mindset of Dante Moore is about to basically become the Heisman Trophy winner on Saturday night. He is going to go into Penn State, torch Penn State, and Oregon is going to roll to a 41-21 victory.
Are we sure that Dante Moore is not going to regress into the player that he was?
It's a good question. I mean, he's never played in an environment like this.
Never.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, nobody gets excited for this kind of game in the Pac-12 when it comes to UCLA coming to town.
Nope.
This is Penn State fans know what this game is and what this means for the program. This is James Franklin needing a job. This is Drew Aller needing a legacy game to become one of the greats ever. I need to see it to believe it.
I'm concerned. The big reason I'm taking Penn State, well, 2 reasons. 1, I picked them to win the championship, so it's fitting my narrative here. But 2, I'm concerned about Oregon's defense a little bit. They've been a little shaky. They rank 98th in pressure rate, 47th in run block. I think Penn State is going to expose the Ducks a little bit to this week. You talked about LSU showing Ole Miss and their quarterback SEC football. Mm-hmm. I think Penn State's about to do the same to Dante Moore and the Ducks. Don't forget, I know the Ducks were great last year, right? But that they also aren't. They haven't been in the Big Ten very long. I think Penn State is going to show them what Big Ten football is and really welcome them to the Big Ten in their first whiteout game here, in an environment nobody wants to go into. I don't care who. I don't care what team it is.
I'm gonna say I still remember to this day when Michigan went into it and they called a timeout on the first play of the game because how loud it was. It is different. I want to go to that game.
Environments in college football, and it's a scary place to play.
Yes.
I'm not saying that they can't lose. They can't lose the game, but it is one of those places, and one of those events that everything is going their way, and unless the other team comes in 100% prepared and 100% everything on their side, they're probably not winning the game. As you even said, history is against them. I'm going with history. I'm going with the Nittany Lions. I think this is the week that people are going to remember how good Penn State actually is.
This was the reason why Jim Knowles was brought in, and we can end it with that. This is why Jim Knowles was brought in, to win games like this with his defense.
It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. And we just want to point out, we've had 3 straight differing picks. We had the first 2 similar, 3 straight. So going into our last one, are we going to go 3-3 or are we going to go 4-2 on the difference? So we're going to have to see. We got the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on the big bad Georgia Bulldogs, right? I know you think this game's going to probably be a rout. Are you leaning towards the Dogs or are you picking the Crimson Tide?
So history says take the Tide. Kirby Smart is 1-6 in his career versus Alabama. However, Georgia has a 33-game home win streak. A little bit of an asterisk on because who they've played at home compared to what they've had to go on the road. Longest winning streak right now in college football active. But I do believe the Dogs are going to handle business. I believe I saw little holes to be concerned about their defense versus Tennessee, and Alabama has the ability to throw the ball. Ryan Williams, Bernard, those guys. They can make some plays for Alabama. But I just worry about Alabama's rush defense versus Georgia rush offense. And Georgia remembers last year. They remember that loss. The loss that basically knocked them out of the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. But that is going to be in the back of their mind. So I think the Dogs win 33-27. But the score, the game is not as close as what the score says.
So you're going against history 2 times.
It's what I do.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay. So everything, again, is pointing to the Dogs. Alabama hasn't looked the same, right? I mean, they bounced back a little bit. Don't get me wrong. They've looked pretty good the last few weeks, other than, the Florida State game. But I think they figured some things out here. I told you after that I didn't think Alabama was done. I told you, I think 2 weeks ago, or was it might have been last week, that I thought Alabama was going to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still going with that. I am nervous for the Georgia defense. I really am. We saw Tennessee tear them to shreds.
Yes.
Just tear them to shreds. The Kirby Smart's defenses normally are one of the best in the country. They rank 101st in pass defense success rate. Pass defense success rate. They have been really bad.
I don't like that.
And I just want to point out, I know that he had a rough little thing with week 1. Ty Simpson's looked pretty good.
Oh, no, he is.
862, 9 touchdowns, no picks. He has been very good for Alabama.
I haven't been able to catch it, but I believe our boss might owe him a little bit of an apology because he wanted to bench him after week 1.
He did.
And he's looked pretty good. Ty has looked a point. And now that I see Bill mention double-digit win for the Tide, I am very legit. I am very concerned.
Bill
was on fire last week.
I think Bill went 6-5-1 last week or something. So Thank you, Bill. I need you to be right here. Have you seen that video of the Alabama fan with Drewski in the past?
Yeah. Everybody's seen that.
Yeah. Video. I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Go Tide. Roll Tide. Let's go. Alabama is going to prove themselves this week. The Tide are back. They're going to be back. And the Bulldogs are going to be put back into the house. They're done. They're at least this week. I still am high on Georgia. But this week, Alabama's about to go in there and remind everybody who the Crimson Tide are. Give me Alabama. Give me Kalen DeBoer to get his big signature win at Alabama here. And all the annoying Alabama fans are about to flood right back.
Yeah, that's what I'm more terrified about. And I do like, though, that both these coaches had a week to prepare. Make it fair. It wasn't like one got the extra week and got to watch. They both got the same amount of time to prepare for this game. So let's see what happens.
Yep.
I'm interested to see your take on this, not to backtrack a little bit too much, but Will, our buddy, made a comment about Dan Lanning being the best coach in the country. I didn't know his name was Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I still have to give it to Kirby, at least until Lanning wins a title.
Correct. Which he very well could do this year.
Oh, he easily could.
But I've got to get it to Kirby.
And I just want to point out, I discussed this weeks ago. James Franklin has not won the championship, but he got that monkey off his back last year. They finally won the playoff game. They finally did something. I think, and again, I think they're going to use that as momentum going into this year. I talked about it. I think Penn State's going to solidify themselves just the same way I think Alabama's about to solidify themselves. Everybody was down on Alabama after week 1. I sat up here and said, Alabama's not done. They're going to still do something this season. This is the week they prove it. And I got the backing of Bill Sparks, and that's all I need.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Once I saw that, I was like, well.
That is literally all I need. All I need, because
he was on fire last week.
Alabama is back. Our guy Malik, our boss Malik, he's going to be all hyped up. And this is coming from an LSU fan. I don't want Alabama to win. But they're going to win. Roll Tide.
Tide, you will not ever catch me saying that.
Roll for the one. This is the only week I will say that. Roll Tide. Just so I can come on here next week and just tear you to shreds with your Georgia takes.
That being said, Kellen DeBoer needs to go into hiding with me from Indiana fans, but he's got to go in hiding from Bama fans if they lose this game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Will Stein and Oregon OC. I feel like, yes, if it's the right job, but I'm a little concerned about his lack of experience as a head coach. I tend to like somebody with a little more experience, but Bill would know better than me if there's a guy out there who he's friends with, close with, who can run his defense, because his offense is definitely one of the best in the game. The man's literally now had 3 different quarterbacks as his offensive controlling his offense, and all 3 have produced Heisman type numbers.
Yep. No, it's a good point by Bill, and that's in the coaching carousel that we'll obviously talk about going forward here. But we have a couple other games. I know you just quickly wanted to, just discuss here. So who do you have in these games here?
I'm going to go Notre Dame. As much as I want to take Arkansas, I think sadly they're going to probably lay down. Sam Pittman's time in Arkansas is up, and I'd love to see who Arkansas could go out and hire. A name to watch, by the way, for any SEC job. My boy won't be too happy about it as he's a Q's fan, James. But Fran Brown of Syracuse is going to be a hot name down south. Rutgers, Minnesota. I'm just going to go with Minnesota. They're the home team. It really doesn't matter. It's just mid playing mid when it comes to the Big Ten. It's just who they are. It's unfortunate. I thought Minnesota would become something a little bit better with PJ Fleck. Never has actually happened quite yet. Greg Schiano hasn't fully built that thing back up. UCF, I believe that's Kansas State. That's just ugliness all the way around. I'm going to go with Kansas State off a bye week, needing a win.
They desperately need a win.
You want to talk about a coach who might be getting fired next week if you lose. There's Kansas State. UC Kansas. I'm going to be a homer. I don't even care. You can see it right back there. UC is going to pull the upset in Kansas. Bringing on Iowa State next week. I'll be at the game next Saturday. Can't wait for that one. See Rocco in person, and then BYU, Colorado. I'm going to go BYU. They haven't really played anybody yet. Their defense looks still really good. I've got a lot of questions about their quarterback. I'm curious how, clearly BYU is very strict about their rules about the Mormon policy. He's a true freshman starting. So does this guy get to play 2 years at BYU and then have to take 2 years off and then come back? You know what I mean? Because they got to do that 2-year trip. They usually do it their freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah.
So what does he do? Everybody I talked to when it came to BYU fans, because I post on Reddit my power rankings, and I was curious when I was asking them. They're saying they're very well known in their mind that the kid will be at BYU for 3 years and then transfer.
I can see it.
So
yeah, I can't see Colorado winning that game. BYU's look pretty good to start, and I think they could keep that going. So it's going to be a very interesting week of college football. Any last takes, thoughts, Josh?
I had to talk about this one game real fast, and it's Ohio State. Yes, Liam, I called them Ohio State very nicely. I'll call them what they're called, Ohio State and Washington. I don't think Washington can win. Their defense has a little bit too many holes. They lost their star linebacker. But that offense is good enough to give.
UW has I think the longest home, or one of the longest home win streaks.
Second longest behind
Georgia.
Yep. They are going to be a problem, and that score is going to be closer than everybody thinks. And I was impressed when I brought it up in the group chat. Buckeye fans seem to agree. They're not worried about the game, but they do think it's going to be closer than what everybody thinks. As it's a wake-up game, because this is also what Julian Saban's first true road game. Yep. That's a home environment. It's a beautiful one, by the way. Seattle, if you ever go out there and catch a game, Josh Pat was talking about it. But yeah, that's the game I'm kind of also looking forward to that we didn't get a chance to talk to. And then A&M beating Auburn and ruining our Auburn playoff dreams.
Auburn, I got it. We have beef with Auburn right now.
Yes, we do.
We both have beef with Auburn for how last week went. But yeah, we are so excited. This is going to be a great week of college football. Once again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to our website. We have articles coming out all day, every day. We got college football, baseball, hockey, NBA, NFL. We got everything, right? TWSN.net. Once again, this is the TWSN Tailgate Show. We will be back next week, Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, as we are every single week, 3 p.m. For my West Coast guys. I got to shout everybody out on the West Coast. I got to do it. So Washington will not win. I think it's going to be close. Bill knows ball. That's the motto of their show. Bill knows ball. We want to have Bill back on the show one of these days. We'll talk. We'll have our people talk to his people, and we'll get that going. But thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another edition of the TWSN Tailgate. Have a good one.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet. Well, you better.